Now, I'm sure we all remember the stepdaughter loving Prez. Well, he is going to get killed. A man is going to get mooned, and another man is going to get beaten over the head with a billiards cue. But before we get into any of that, in 1908, the flamboyant Geo Winkles goes and takes over this boarding house and turns it into a one-stop shop for all of a cowboy's favorite things. We had drinking, we had gambling, we had badger and bulldog fights, we had lodging, and if you felt a little lonely, ladies of the night. Now, much of Hollywood stars would actually go and seek refuge in a place like this. Silent film stars like Buster Keaton actually regularly attended the lodge. Now, if you guys have ever seen the movie Babylon, or much more recently Minions and Monsters, it's something a little similar to that. Uh, Now, how could they all go and get away with this? Well, there was an 8-foot tall fence surrounding the property, concealing any activity that could have been going on inside and thwarting any paparazzi. But anytime you mix alcohol and cowboys, things can get a little heated. On Christmas Eve, 1907, a local named Horace McGee enters the bar and is greeted by his arch rival, Louis Escalier. Louis looks at him and lets him know that this bar ain't big enough for the two of us. To which the dignified Horace says, "Well, if you don't want me here, you can kiss my ass." To which Horace then, a man of class, turns around, pulls down his pants, and displays that it is a full moon tonight. Louis pulls out his cigar and puts it out right on Horace's bare butt. A man of, again, dignity and class, Horace pulls up his pants and shouts, "You're gonna regret this," before storming out to the bar. A couple of concerned patrons went over to the constable, our profound Prez von Swingwin, and lets him know that Horace and Louis are at it again. Now, Prez thinks to himself, that's just Louis and Horace. Everything should be fine. I'm just going to talk him down. And leaves his gun belt at the counter. This turns out to be his fatal error. Okay, as he goes and enters the bar, trying to get a lay of the land, Horace comes back, inflamed by alcohol and turning himself into a human ashtray. He brings his gun. Now, Prez's attempts to de-escalate things were completely thwarted when Horace points his gun at him and shoots him point blank dead, causing a whole era of chaos and destruction amongst the town folks. Louis attempts to disarm him and meets a very similar fate, adding yet a second casualty to what is known as the Christmas Eve Massacre. Horace does not leave the bar completely unscathed, however. A nearby patron goes and hits him in the head with a pool cue, fracturing his skull. Naturally, an angry mob begins to form, absolutely angry and thirsty for justice. However, the sheriff is able to retrieve Horace and hide him away from the mob, so that way he may see his day in court instead of fall victim to some street justice. Horace is then convicted for murder. For about 10 years, he stays in San Quentin prison until he's paroled when a local rancher, Mr. Garner, remembers Horace, not because of his heinous acts of murder or his public mooning, but that he was a generally nice guy, and offers Horace a place to stay at his ranch, where Horace spent the remainder of his days. Now, despite all this, and this possibly being Temecula's first attempt at rehabilitation, we still see effects of the massacre even today. Employees at the olive oil company have reported doors opening and closing on their own. Eerie sounds of piano notes, yet there's no piano in sight. Spectral hands reaching out. And even our founder, Wes, felt an eerie presence and saw shadows emerging from the record store. But who could it be? The specter haunting the area. Is it Prez, hopelessly trying to unify what seems to be a lawless town? Or was it perhaps Horace, serving his eternal penance? That, my friends, remains one of the town's most illustrious mysteries.